Brexit also has an impact on Switzerland. The trade agreement concluded between the EU and the United Kingdom at the end of 2020 brings new challenges to preference calculations for Swiss exporters. By the way, I didn't always want to bring just the short videos with only one topic. Therefore, I report in this video one after the other on different topics. So you should stay tuned until the end if you don't want to miss any topic. And if you don't want to miss anything at all, just subscribe to my channel down there and click the little bell. But here we go. Delivery delays in traffic between the EU and the UK have made headlines in recent weeks. In some cases, they were caused by missing or incorrectly filled out documents accompanying the goods and the resulting slower customs clearance. What new things do Swiss exporters have to pay attention to so that their goods pass through customs smoothly? Problems arise, among other things, from the fact that the bilateral trade and cooperation agreement, the TCA, between the EU and the United Kingdom is not congruent in all respects with the bilateral agreement between Switzerland and the United Kingdom that came into force on January 1st, 2021. This mainly concerns the rules of origin. The trade agreement between Switzerland and the United Kingdom provides for the possibility of accumulating goods originating from other parties to the PEM, that's the Pan-Euro-Mediterranean Accumulation Agreement. The prerequisite is that the contracting party has a free trade agreement with Switzerland and the United Kingdom, and this contains identical rules of origin. Since the rules of origin agreed in the EU-United Kingdom agreement are not identical to those in the Switzerland-UK trade agreement, it is no longer possible to accumulate goods originating in the EU in trade between Switzerland and the United Kingdom. Therefore, goods with EU origin are subject to customs duty when exporting from Switzerland to the United Kingdom through trade. If the EU originating goods are transported directly from the EU to the United Kingdom, the import is tariff-free. Goods of preferential origin in Switzerland can be imported into the United Kingdom with preferential tariffs or duty-free, depending on the respective customs tariff number. But compared to EU companies exporting to the UK, Swiss companies have to meet stricter origin criteria. According to the United Kingdom and Switzerland Treaty, the rules of origin of the PEM Convention apply as in the Switzerland-EU Free Trade Agreement. In the machine sector, for example, value added of 60 to sometimes 75% is necessary in order to meet the requirements of the original criteria. To make matters worse, the primary materials from the EU used in Switzerland are now to be taken into account as third country goods in the preference calculation. Since the beginning of 2021, all shipments to the United Kingdom must include commercial or pro forma invoices, among other things, on which the importer's EORI number as well as the value and customs tariff number are noted. The phytosanitary certificates must not be missing for animal and vegetable products. A confirmation is now also required for wooden packaging that it complies with the ISPM 15 standard. In the third quarter of this year, a revised PEM convention with more liberal original criteria is to come into force. However, this will probably not be applicable to exports to the United Kingdom, as the United Kingdom, unlike the EU and Switzerland, does not want to ratify the revised PEM convention. From the point of view of the logistics industry, it would therefore be desirable for Switzerland to renegotiate the relevant passages of the trade agreement with the United Kingdom in order to achieve congruence in the original criteria for the bilateral trade agreements with the EU and the United Kingdom. In view of the new requirement, Swiss exporters should check their preference calculations or proof of origin in detail before shipping, including updating the supplier information. Internationally active freight forwarders in Switzerland, such as Daxe, for example, offer their customers comprehensive support in this regard. The aim is to bring shipments smoothly, legally, on time, and if necessary, with a formally valid proof of origin across the customs borders into the United Kingdom. And another topic, the State Center for New Media in Bavaria and the video sharing platform Twitch, which is now firmly anchored in the lives of many gamers, will work together more closely in the future than most of us would have probably ever thought possible. And this is another consequence of the so extensively themed Brexit. But this message is even interesting for gamers who otherwise don't deal so much with politics. The video sharing platform Twitch, provided in the European Union by the company Twitch Interactive, known to be a subsidiary of Amazon.com, has been subject to German jurisdiction since the end of the so-called Brexit transition period. In addition, it is also subject to the supervision of the Bavarian State Center for New Media, the BLM. The said country headquarters is responsible for the regulation of Twitch in the European Union. The future cooperation with BLM provides an excellent basis for Twitch to continue to be successful in Germany and beyond. So people are therefore pleased that the BLM was able to officially confirm that Germany is now the EU member state that will regulate Twitch in the future, says Burkhard Leimbrock, Commercial Director Europe at Twitch. When the UK left the EU in the wake of Brexit, the authority over which media regulator is or will be responsible for the company changed. This meant that the video sharing platform could only be supervised within the UK by the UK media regulator Ofcom. The company previously supervised this in the European Union. As a result, Twitch Interactive, in cooperation with Twitch Interactive Germany, approached the Bavarian State Center for New Media and ensured that the conditions for effective supervision and legal enforcement were guaranteed. Twitch Interactive will therefore report regularly to the Bavarian State Center for New Media on measures to ensure compliance with the regulatory requirements and will be available as a permanent contact. With more than 30 million daily users, Twitch is one of the largest online video services worldwide and, after Amazon Prime Video, is already the second major online video service under the supervision of the Bavarian State Headquarters for New Media. We welcome the fact that after Amazon Prime Video, Twitch is now a second major online video service under the supervision of the BLM. For the state headquarters, this is confirmation of fair but consistent supervision. But it is also an award for the media location Bavaria, which is developing into a contact point for global on-demand office and video sharing platforms, says Siegfried Schneider, president of the BLM. And one other thing, the European Union and the United States have concluded negotiations to adjust the EU's World Trade Organization agricultural quotas following Britain's exit from the Union, the European Commission said on Monday. The agreement, covering billions of euros of trade, including beef, poultry, rice, dairy produce, fruit, vegetables and wine, was the result of 2 years of negotiations. The idea is to keep the previous import quota volumes unchanged and to share them between the European Union and Britain. The European Union is conducting similar negotiations with 21 other WTO partners and has completed them with some countries such as Argentina, Australia, Norway, Pakistan and Thailand. And Brexit also has many legal ramifications for individuals. With the agreement of December 24th, the European Union and the United Kingdom still regulated their relations after the UK left the European Union, and thus, at least in some areas, the no-deal Brexit was averted. With the present trade and cooperation agreement, the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union internal market and the customs union, which in some cases has far-reaching consequences. With the exit from the European Union, the United Kingdom now has the status of a third country, which has the corresponding consequences. The free movement of workers, the freedom of establishment, and the freedom to provide services no longer apply. Agreements on the choice of law already made in current contracts continue to apply. It should be noted, however, that a choice of law in favor of the law of the United Kingdom on the basis of the agreement no longer also includes the choice of the law of the European Union. This can lead to significant changes to the contract, which is why it may make sense to agree on new contracts. With the end of the free movement of workers, citizens of the United Kingdom and vice versa, citizens of the European Union will need a residence and work permit in the other country in the future. For citizens who were already legally in the other country before December 31st and who were employed there, gentle transitional regulations apply. British citizens who have already been employed in Germany must report their residence to the responsible immigration authority and obtain a residence document that confirms their continued residence and work entitlement. It should be noted, however, that this document does not allow the same freedom of movement within the European Union as a Union citizen can. For German nationals who were already employed in the United Kingdom before the agreement came into force, a permanent residence and work permit can be applied for. The recognition of professional qualifications obtained in the UK is no longer regulated by EU rules. Recognition is still possible, but is now linked to other regulations. The professional qualification is no longer recognized automatically. With regard to any consequences for company law, the trade agreement is largely silent. In the absence of express regulations, the situation is a no-deal Brexit there. This particularly affects companies in the legal form of a limited company that previously had their administrative headquarters in Germany. There are a lot of blog posts out there where you can really read that in detail. With the entry into force of the agreement, the previously existing privileges of the UK for companies from the European Union will no longer apply, so that they are to be treated regularly as foreign companies. In a letter dated December 30th, the German Federal Ministry of Finance has already commented in detail on the requirements for the disclosure of tax assessments against a limited company with its administrative seat in Germany and for enforcement against these companies. Even if the danger of a complete no-deal Brexit has been averted by the agreement, the tax-related consequences of the regulation that have now been adopted are approximating to a hard Brexit. The United Kingdom now has the status of a third country with regard to income tax, which is why the favorable regulations applicable to EU nationals or regulations that are linked to membership in the European Economic Area can no longer apply. Comparable or other benefits are not provided. The change in status of the United Kingdom to a third country has also far-reaching consequences for VAT law. The regulations on intra-community deliveries and other services can no longer be applied. Instead, import sales tax is now to be levied. Something different applies to Northern Ireland. Even after the Trade and Cooperation Agreement came into force on January 1st, the withdrawal agreement between the European Union and the United Kingdom from February 1st, 2020, will remain in force. So Northern Ireland, unlike the rest of the United Kingdom, still counts as a community area. In this respect, the regulation on intra-community acquisition and intra-community delivery continue to apply. However, Northern Ireland is again a third country for the provision of services. For entrepreneurs from Northern Ireland, the country prefix XI is required for the sales tax identification number. The German Federal Ministry of Finance also commented on the VAT consequences in a letter dated December 10th. The sales tax changes should be taken into account as soon as possible in the accounting entry of the transactions and entered into the systems. Because of the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, no tariffs have to be levied between the EU and the United Kingdom, but customs clearance must be carried out, whereby a proof of origin must also be provided for imports from the UK into the EU. In this way, the entrepreneurs are spared tariffs, but customs clearance incurs costs in a different way. The continuation of the exit agreement from February 1st, 2020 has the consequence, among other things, that the customs border runs between Northern Ireland and Great Britain and not between Ireland and Northern Ireland. The Trade and Cooperation Agreement represents the provisional end of a lengthy process that began with the decision of the citizens of the United Kingdom to leave the European Union by referendum on June 23rd in 2016. However, it is unlikely that the present agreement will be a conclusive provision. Although it creates a basic framework, it leaves some practical questions unresolved that will probably only be clarified in the next few months and years. By additions, not by changing the whole thing. For these purposes, the agreement contains evolutionary clauses that enable the parties to develop the agreement further by mutual agreement. Precisely from this, it also allows that at this point in time, the last word with regard to individual problems cannot yet be spoken, and further clarifications of the regulations can be expected in the future. And then another update on a topic from a video a few weeks ago is still missing, and now I've got it. Human challenge studies are as good as impossible in Germany. In Great Britain, however, a group of young volunteers can now be infected with the coronavirus. The researchers want to find out, among other things, how the immune system reacts to the virus. In the UK, the first volunteers were infected with corona as part of a study. The so-called human challenge analyses began on Saturday, the British Ministry of Health said when asked. According to earlier information from the British government, this is the first study worldwide in which people are specifically infected with SARS-CoV-2. The Human Challenge Program will improve and accelerate the development of vaccines and treatments against COVID-19, said a spokeswoman for the ministry. The first group of volunteers has now started getting the virus and the virus characterization study at the Royal Free Hospital in London. The subjects would be exposed to the virus in a safe and controlled environment, monitored around the clock by doctors and scientists, it said. In the past, human challenge trials in which healthy people are exposed to a pathogen were used to develop flu or malaria vaccines, for example. However, in contrast to the British study, the test subjects were initially given a potential active ingredient. The British project selected young, healthy people who have a comparatively low risk of developing serious COVID-19. They should first be given the lowest possible dose of the virus that is necessary for an infection. Up to 90 volunteers could be infected in a targeted manner. With the initial characterization study, the researchers also want to find out how the immune system reacts to the virus and how infected virus particles are released into the environment. In Germany, human challenge studies are considered unlikely. The Association of Researching Drug Manufacturers rejects them as unethical. There are also medical reservations. Challenge studies may show a falsified pictures, as findings that were only obtained with young, healthy people may not be transferable to the elderly and the chronically ill, emphasized the association. Artificially induced infections do not correspond to the real infections in everyday life. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.